Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cracking open the strategic playbook of a company that, well, it seems like they're everywhere these days. Home innovation, right?
Absolutely. Selling everything from, those high-end vacuums to the ice cream makers you just can't escape on social media.
Exactly. We're diving into SharkNinja, or SN. Now, this is a company navigating some serious global turbulence, economic headwinds, tricky tariffs, shaky consumer markets, and yet they're not just getting by, they seem to be absolutely thriving.
And that's really the core of this deep dive, isn't it? Our sources, mainly their Q2 2025 earnings call and some related materials, they paint a picture of a really durable business model. It's powered by this very clear, very disciplined three-pillar growth strategy.
Okay.
But what's crucial for you, the listener, to grasp is the market context here. The global markets SN operates in, home goods, small appliances, even beauty tech saving, they actually shrank in the low single-digit range year over year if you take SN's performance out of the equation.
Wow. Okay, so that's the stark contrast right there. Their competitors, their peers were shrinking, but SN pulls off nearly 16% year-over-year net sales growth, hitting $1.4 billion.
Precisely.
That tells me they're doing something fundamentally different. Like they've found a strategic lever the rest of the market just isn't pulling.
They absolutely have. And, their success wasn't just about volume, about selling more stuff. It was also about efficiency, financial discipline. Get this.
Yeah.
They managed to grow their adjusted EBITDA by around 33% year over year.
33% EBITDA growth.
Yeah.
In this environment with inflation and everything.
Yeah.
That doesn't just happen. You see net sales up 16% and earnings up 33%. Someone in operations has been, well, pretty ruthless about managing costs.
Exactly right. They talk about a commitment to expense discipline. Operating expenses as a percentage of net sales actually decreased by over 200 basis points compared to last year. And they were smart about it, too. They used, carefully measured pricing actions, but also really pushed for supplier concessions to offset those global challenges. And somehow they did it without significantly hurting demand.
Okay, so let's unpack maybe the biggest elephant in the room for any global company right now, the supply chain. That pivot. It's one thing to talk cost savings, but actually navigating the geopolitical mess, the tariffs, that takes a huge logistical effort.
Oh, absolutely. And SN seems to view their ability to diversify sourcing, not just as a necessity, but as a real competitive edge. What's kind of amazing here is the speed and scale of their move away from China.
Right.
They hit this major milestone, enabling about 90% of the U.S. volume to be produced outside of China by the end of Q2 2025.
90%. That quick.
It is.
That's pretty incredible. We're talking thousands of parts, finished goods, the whole network. So where did all that manufacturing go? How are they handling the complexity?
Primarily Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia. Those are the new hubs. But, shifting volume doesn't magically erase tariffs, right? It just changes them.
Okay, right.
So their guidance now reflects this new reality. China at 30%, Vietnam at 20%, and then Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, all clustered around 19%.
Well, no, let's slow that down. China, 30, Vietnam, 20, the others 19. That 1 percentage point difference between Vietnam and the others, it seems small. But on $1.4 billion in sales, that's actually serious money, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and it shows, I think, a really careful geopolitical hedging strategy.
Wow.
They're balancing manufacturing capacity, logistics, political stability, and that marginal tariff advantage.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding the cheapest place.
It's about resilience.
Exactly. Finding the most reliable, cost-optimized, and crucially politically diversified supply chain. And by the way, they're still saying they're on track for almost 100% outside China by the end of 2025.
Which naturally leads to that question we always get. Why not just bring it all back? Bring production home to the U.S. The sources mentioned SN looked into it for some things, like that new Ninja Frost vault cooler.
Yeah, they did investigate it. But the issue isn't really desire, it's infrastructure. To set up U.S. manufacturing for their kinds of complex appliances, you need the whole sub-supplier network, too. And that network, well, it just doesn't exist right now in the U.S. for their specific products.
So it's a multi-year project at
It's
best.
a huge multi-year project. So while they're looking into it, the strategic move right now is speed, efficiency, diversification through Southeast Asia. That's something they can execute immediately.
Okay, so their physical footprint strategy is just as deliberate as their product strategy.
Yeah.
And that footprint, it feeds right into their growth engine, those 3 pillars. Let's talk pillar 1 and 2. Relentless innovation and building these durable franchises.
Yeah, the scale of ambition here is, well, it's really stunning. They literally aim to solve problems in every home, globally, across, what is it now, 37 different categories they play in just in the U.S.
37. And they don't just talk innovation, they put numbers on it. Entering 2 brand new categories and launching 25 completely new ground-up products every single year.
Right.
They're constantly planting seeds, aren't they? Knowing that not every single one is going to be the next, creamy.
Ah, the Ninja Creamy. That's like the perfect case study, isn't it? How they turn a niche product into this massive, lasting franchise. It started pretty small, right? A solution for people with dietary needs, allergies, letting them customize desserts.
But then the magic happens. The consumers basically took over the marketing, didn't they? It just exploded when the fitness crowd found that protein ice cream hack.
Exactly. Suddenly you can turn a basic protein shake into this amazing low-cal, high-protein dessert. And SN, crucially, they didn't try to force a narrative. They just watched this viral thing happen and then poured resources into iterating based on what consumers were actually doing.
So that's why we see the XL Creamy, the soft serve creamy.
So
They're feeding the trend.
they are. And get this, 99.5% of the online content about the Creamy, it's user-generated. They barely have to advertise it in the traditional sense.
So they're effectively crowdsourcing R&D and marketing by just watching social media like a hawk. Is there a risk there, though, giving up that much control over the brand message?
It's a calculated risk, I think.
Yeah.
But the payoff is that organic trust. It's priceless. When real users are raving about results like the Ninja Slushie, generating 1.3 billion impressions globally in Q2 alone.
A billion.
Yeah, up from over a billion the previous quarter. That kind of authentic excitement beats a slick ad campaign any day,
And it's not just the kitchen stuff either. Look at beauty tech. They're talking about this enormous white space opportunity, aiming to be the runaway leader. But beauty, that's tough. You've got diehard loyalty to brands like Dyson. How does SN break in without, cheapening the Shark brand, which people often link to cleaning and maybe value?
They're using the same playbook.
Yeah.
Disruptive engineering. Take the Shark CryoGlow. It's basically bringing a high-end professional-style skin treatment into your home, democratizing it.
Right.
It's already out in the U.S., U.K., Latin America, heading to Europe soon. And they've got more hair and skincare tech planned before the end of the year. Their bedding technology can disrupt even the luxury beauty space.
And they don't just go after new categories. They're masters at shaking up old ones, things others ignore as, no growth. Fans, for example.
Who thinks about innovating in fans, right? It's a century-old category, but they completely rethink the use case. They're not selling your grandma's oscillating fan.
Oh.
They're solving modern problems. Outdoor living, portability, really specific needs like cooling for better sleep. The FlexFreeze Go Mist You Outdoors. Their TurboBlade is this compact thing that pivots 180 degrees. It just works differently. They find new value, show it off on social media, and boom, growth in a dead category.
And that same disruptive thinking hits their core areas too, like cooking and cleaning. They dominate air fryers, but they don't sit still. They launch things like the Ninja Crispy, the glass system, so people can actually see the food cooking.
Which addresses a common complaint, right?
Exactly. So it pulls in new buyers, but it also gets existing owners to think, maybe I should upgrade.
And in cleaning, the Shark Foundation, they're just taking share everywhere. Cordless vacs, robotics, carpet cleaning, the Shark Stain Striker, the Power Detect stuff. They keep launching better versions. It's like nearly 20 of those 25 new products each year are actually improvements or additions to their existing lines. They're essentially making their own products obsolete before anyone else can.
That constant iteration, defending their turf while expanding, it flows right into Pillar 3, international growth. And the growth there is picking up speed over 20% year over year internationally in Q2.
Yeah, and what's really telling is the power of diversification. Look at the UK. Their UK business bounced back really fast, grew net sales, even though the biggest category there, air fryers, actually declined by about 25% year over year.
So even if one product category dips in one market, the overall international business is strong enough to grow.
Exactly. The portfolio effect is working. It insulates them. And they're taking that success and replicating it. They call it their Playbook execution in places like France and Germany. They're setting up for what they expect to be a really big holiday season there in 2025.
And part of that playbook involves changing how they operate internationally, right? Moving away from distributors.
Yes, strategically shifting from distributor-led to direct models. What's the benefit? Control, mainly.
Yeah.
And better margins. They did it successfully in Mexico in Q1. Now they're targeting the Benelux countries, Poland, the Nordics. It gives them direct say over pricing, marketing, the whole customer experience, and it all feeds this big, ambitious goal. They expect half their total sales to come from outside the U.S. in the near term.
50% international, that's huge. And hitting that kind of global scale, unifying the brand, it demands a real shift in their marketing DNA. I mean, they started with infomercials, didn't they? And that intense focus on five-star reviews.
Oh, yeah. The story goes the CEO told a retailer way back in 2008, "We're going to grow our business one five-star review at a time."
Hmm.
Apparently, the retailer thought he was nuts.
Ah, but that core idea, earning trust, it's still there, right?
It seems to be. But how they communicate has totally changed. Content moved to mobile Meta, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube. So they shifted hard into becoming content curators, really. The sources claim SN gets 7 times more social media engagement than their closest competitor. They're part of the conversation, not just shouting into it.
And we're also seeing a really interesting brand evolution now. For years, it was always Shark or Ninja, separate identities. But that big sponsorship of the Apple F1 movie, that felt different.
That's a huge signal, isn't it? It's the first really big campaign marketing the combined SharkNinja brand. They're clearly trying to link both sides, kitchen and cleaning, under this umbrella of precision engineering, performance, speed. It makes sense.
And it lines up perfectly with the relaunch of their main website, SharkNinja.com, coming in Q4 in North America.
Exactly. A unified site makes cross-selling way easier. Think loyalty programs that span both Shark and Ninja products.
Yeah.
It tightens that customer relationship.
So none of this happens by accident, right? This level of execution, this growth, it has to come from the culture. Let's talk about that outrageously extraordinary mindset they mentioned. The origin story is interesting. The CEO, Mark Barrow, starting Europro with his friend Mark Rosenwag in 2008, right in the middle of the financial crisis.
Yeah, talk about timing. But their mission then was apparently quite simple. Positively impact people's lives with great products. And the CEO's own backstory is key here. He'd had earlier failures as an entrepreneur.
Right, a clothing company in the 90s.
Yeah, back in '93. And apparently that experience really hammered home that success isn't guaranteed, it's earned. You have to work incredibly hard and never take your place for granted. That seems to permeate the company.
It's funny how often you hear that, right? Big success built on the lessons of an earlier public failure. That earned, not assumed idea must drive the engineers crazy, in a good way. Which brings us to their core philosophy, problem solving. They say their competitive advantage is just the way we think.
And that thinking starts with finding problems. Known ones, unknown ones. They do deep dives into ethnographic research. They scour social media reviews like crazy, just looking for those consumer pain points. But they also know speed is critical.
Which is where progress over perfection comes in.
Exactly. Don't get stuck trying to make the launch absolutely perfect. Iterate fast. Don't be paralyzed by uncertainty. They even had this internal saying, "We reserve the right to get smarter."
I like that. It gives permission to pivot, to admit mistakes.
Yeah, the CEO is known for being open about when they mess up and need to change course, like that Shark multi-vac hand vac. It apparently bombed. They had to slash the price. The little nugget of tech and insight they saved from that failure later became the foundation for the hugely successful Shark liftaway line. Failure wasn't fatal. It was data.
That adaptable mindset, not being dogmatic, it even applies to how they're thinking about the future, like with AI, right?
Yeah, they're not just dipping a toe in. They did this bold thing, partnered with a major VC firm, A16Z. They let 80 different AI startups basically use SharkNinja's business as a sandbox, a canvas, to run pilot projects.
80 startups. Wow.
Yeah, just opening the doors to experimentation. It's still early days, of course, but they're already seeing the most promise in things like customer service and consumer insights. Imagine AI helping troubleshoot across the 160-plus products they sell, or mining feedback even faster for the next iteration.
So, okay, wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for the listener from this deep dive into Shark Ninja?
I think the core lesson is that their success, their resilience against market trends, it really comes down to this unique culture. It blends that operational intensity, like the huge supply chain shift, with a real willingness to fail fast, iterate constantly, and just relentlessly focus on delivering innovative value that builds trust.
They're not resting on laurels.
Not at all. They're executing a strategy that's aggressive, but simple. Keep the base business healthy with constant improvements, bolt on new categories aggressively, and then copy-paste that success globally by taking control of their own destiny. Those 5-star reviews from yesterday, they're already working on the product that will replace it.
Which leads perfectly to a final thought, something the CEO himself seems to believe. Shark Ninja basically operates like their job is, and I'm quoting loosely here, to put our own products into retirement before their usable life is up by launching something better, more disruptive.
Yeah.
So, given that incredible speed of their product development, their drive to build these huge, lasting franchises, how long, really, before that five-star Shark vacuum or Ninja air fryer sitting in your kitchen right now gets replaced by its superior next-gen sibling from Shark Ninja themselves? That's the relentless challenge they set. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.